welcome to another edition of Cohasset Common. I'm Town Manager Chris Sr., your host, and on this week's edition, we'll meet with some of our newly elected officials here in Cohasset from the school committee, the select board, and the planning board. We'll see a segment of a piece about digital copyright produced by Kathy Cerruti, a teacher right here in Cohasset, and we'll hear more about the local business community with our special correspondent, Jack Cunningham. Thanks for joining us. Here's the show. The school committee and Corey Evans of the new select board. Welcome all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And in no particular order, but because you're immediately left on my screen, I'll go to you, Lydia. So welcome to the school committee, and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run.
Thank you so much. So I grew up in Cohasset and went through Cohasset schools and felt like I had a great education. And now my husband and I are back with our two children who are now going into first grade at Osgood and third grade at Deer Hill. So I feel like I have a pretty vested interest in our schools going forward for many years. And this past fall, which seems like a million years ago now, the issue of school start times came up. And I found myself very interested in what was going on and realized that I really needed to be paying attention to what was happening with the school committee and decisions regarding our schools. And so I started to attend a few meetings to figure out what was going on. And I just kind of got a fire in my belly. And I thought, I have been in education for years. I've taught pre-K through high school. I've been in private school, in a charter school, and in public districts. So I feel like I have a pretty good well-rounded educational background knowledge. And I feel like I have something to add to the conversation. So when Jennifer Madden decided that she wasn't going to return, I thought I'll throw my hat in the ring and see what I can do and help in the best way I feel like I can help in town.
And that now means sitting on the school committee. Congratulations.
Yes, it worked.
Corey, what brought you to the role of selectman? Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, so, last year I was appointed actually to the board for the 143 TV, the Cohasset 143 TV station, which is hopefully where this show will end up on. And, one thing that I was working with a lot of people in town, a lot of people in different boards, and I definitely saw the need for basically an improved communication structure between the boards, between the town and its people, and just to really get people behind, being involved with the community, being involved with these decisions. And that's kind of where I see my bridge. I like bringing people together. I like getting information out there. I understand the ways, to get people involved. And that's kind of my primary goal, is really to get people involved, get more people on the boards, get some excitement around town politics. I firmly believe all politics is local. I mean, we're all distracted by national stuff, and that really can detract from the real issues that affect Cohasset. And I really want to try to help the town refocus because, we're going to have a lot of really important, really hard decisions coming up. And we really need everyone's brains, kind of in the same room. That way we can get through the next couple of years, couple months.
And Tom, while this is a new position for you, service in the town is not new.
I first got involved in 1989 when I was appointed to the Conservation Commission. And I served there for 9 years, and then I served for 6 years on the Board of Selectmen. I've been the gadfly of 2 citizen groups since, and currently on the Open Space Committee and the Master Plan Implementation Committee. And I ran for, when I first got my ballot, I mailed it in the day. And anytime I see a vacancy, I've always historically filled in my name because I hate to see something go vacant. And then I mentioned it to somebody a couple of days before the election, and they said, well, do you mind if we put your name out there? And then I said, yeah, why not? And then put something out myself the day before, and lo and behold, here I am. We have what I consider one of the more significant projects the planning board's ever going to see before us. We started the hearing the other night. And I think I can contribute to that. I campaigned as a selectman in 1997, the year I lost, in 1988 when I won, creating a master plan. And I was instrumental in doing the first one. And then because none of the town boards were interested in it, I was part of a citizen group in 05, 06 that brought some of the changes recommended in that plan into reality. And then, as you know, just more recently in 2017, I was part of a citizens group trying to change some things on zoning. So I've always had a particular issue in planning and what's the future direction of the town. So I thought, yeah, okay, why not? It's a vacant seat. It's a 5-year term. It's a long term, which I think deters people. But it's something I've been involved in and passionate about for a long time. So I'm glad I'm in. So.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, all of you. So now this was clearly an unusual election season because as the deadline for submitting papers was coming, and I know a couple of you jumped in. The COVID crisis came, and all of a sudden, March 1st, we had our first case. We were the first community out of Boston to have a purported case, and it obviously changed campaigning dramatically. So, any stories from the campaign trail? Any of you want to share, or I should say, the virtual campaign trail? Well, what was it like getting to people and reaching out, like people they even know you were running?
I mean, I think the biggest challenge is the lack of feedback. When you're in a room with a lot of people, you have that back and forth, and that's something I really love. I love getting into discussions. I love seeing people's reactions. I love getting through topics with 1, 2, 5, 10, 15 people. I really love that. This season, we had none of that. So you'd put out messages, you'd call people, you'd do all these things, and maybe I got 10% of the normal feedback I'm used to. So that kind of natural momentum that you build in a campaign was just gone. And that was really, really odd. It kind of felt like you were just kind of alone in a room talking to a wall at some points, and just kind of had to keep going.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of my communication in town is face-to-face as well. And word of mouth was my plan for my campaign. And I thought, geez, I have 2 kids. I'm at soccer, I'm at basketball, I'm at the dump on the weekends. I'll see everybody. And then all of a sudden we were seeing nobody. And so it became just I guess I'll put things out there on social media. And if anyone asks if they can help, I'm asking them to send an email and just get the word out there. So it is funny though, to just put the word out and then not really know what's going to happen and not really get a sense, or you can't really take the pulse of a room or a town when you're just staying safe at home with your family. So I think that a little bit of, Facebook feedback made me feel like I had a good chance of joining the school committee, and luckily it worked out.
Tom, you kind of jumped in at the end, and part of it was because no one actually pulled papers for the planning board.
Yeah, which surprised me, but I voted right away the day I got my mail-in ballot, and I didn't know, for example, there was another candidate for selection, and I don't think she jumped in until the ballots were already mailed out, and some of us mailed them in already. Mm-hmm. So it certainly, I can appreciate the challenges, but I noticed 3 years ago when we were doing that zoning work, that social media has taken on such a big role now in elections, whether we didn't have COVID or not. It's a whole new ballgame the way it used to be that ran for selecting so many years ago. I think the person-to-person is becoming less and less a factor because of the rise of social media.
Now, one of the interesting things about all of our meetings now is that everything is on Zoom, right? So even though we're actually inching and exploring the ability of at least getting boards back into a room together so the board members can at least interact, we're not quite there. And again, we've seen the cautionary tales from other parts of the country where we've done really well in Cohasset. It's been great, and obviously it's a small town, so it's one of the nice things about this community is I've walked across the common myself, and people stop me and ask. And it's great, people, and again, it's generally been very positive. I mean, people always have, usually it's not just thanks, but it's usually, hey, can you fix this? All of us, I'm sure, have seen. But this world, and again, we'll have to see how it evolves. There's been a definite positive to this too, though, in the sense that we're reaching more people. I mean, the Selectmen's Meeting's never been on Facebook Live. Planning Board never been on Facebook Live. We're pushing out more to more people. And do you see this kind of technology or this kind of internet access being a long-range part of community outreach?
I really think it should be. I think that we don't need to take away what used to exist when it's safe to come back together. I think absolutely come back together, because there's certainly something to be said for, reading cues and being in person and having that face-to-face interaction. But I also think providing access to the community, for example, school committee, 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night is a really tough time for a lot of people to leave their home and go sit in on a meeting for an unknown amount of time, but to be able to be logged in to the webinar or watching the Facebook live stream and be able to submit questions virtually when people are genuinely interested, and it's just a real challenge to arrive in person. I think it's something that should continue to exist. It's not taking away one or the other. It's just adding another way to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, even when we do reopen, it's really important to me that we don't go backwards. And, one thing that's really true, I mean, with the Zoom things, we had our challenges, but now what's amazing is that you really can see every person in the meeting, their face, their audio pretty clearly. If you've watched Board of Selectmen or school committee meetings before, there's a camera that's, down in the end zone somewhere, and you've got this echoey audio. And, we got a lot of complaints at the station that you couldn't hear this board member or this issue wasn't clear. And now we've got this new format where if you're on Facebook Live, it's pretty high resolution, the audio is good. And it would be a shame for us to take that away, because we have momentum here, which, we've been trying to maybe have for a while, and this pandemic has kicked us into that gear. So it's really important to me that we don't go backwards, and that we figure out how to bridge what was the old with the new going forward. That way, as Lydia said, everyone has access to the information, when they have an opportunity to absorb it.
I think with you, Tom, one of the biggest challenges is that you have, as you said before, one of the biggest proposed developments in modern Cohasset history.
Yeah.
It kind of cries out for people to be in a room together, and
I'm perhaps just being an old fart here. I'm struggling with the technology. In the court system, we're doing all of our hearings now by telephone and by Zoom, or one or the other. I mean, not every court is set up for Zoom even. And I really think that's been a problem. You miss body language, which is so important in the court hearing. For this, like I was told the other night, I have a lousy connection from my house that I have to work on. So there's technology issues. Facebook Live didn't work for us the other night. And I think, to Lydia's point, where a lot of people can't get to meetings at night and sit there for hours, it's a great tool to have that we should continue to have. And the other night, we were reading people's comments that they were submitting, but I really don't think it's the same thing. And I am, particularly with that harbor project, concerned about the kind of participation that people can meaningfully have in this format. I haven't brought it up to everybody, but I think town meeting ran wonderfully. And for a project of this importance, could we not do something like that? Maybe one of our hearings, when we get into the point of deliberation, that we're there, that everybody can sit in the car, see us up on a video screen, have good audio, be there live to even get out of the car and speak to us face to face. I think that's going to be important that we figure something out. But I agree, this is a great tool for those who can't get to meetings and still participate, but it has its kinks still. And they need to be worked out so that everybody can meaningfully participate.
Now, this is just kind of an intro. We're not going to go into, we could go for hours talking about Cohasset. So we only have a half-hour show that we're fitting in. So let me swing the other way. I'll start with you, Tom. So what is something that you really are focusing on as you start?
Well, obviously this project we just got into, but more importantly, consistent with my whole career in Cohasset government, is getting a master plan implemented. I'm so pleased that we actually have a town board that's charged with that rather than relying on citizens to do it as it happens. And I'm focused on seeing that we all get to a vision of what we want Cohasset to be like in the near future, and that we have an organized and coordinated way of doing it.
Corey?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to build off that. I mean, just, having better, interaction between the boards and my role on the select board. I mean, we do have so many boards in town, and sometimes boards, maybe drift a little bit. And, it's really important that we keep everyone together. And I'm a huge supporter of the master plan. I think there were great ideas on that. There's so much time and effort in the master plan that it'd really be a shame if it just keeps languishing and we really don't, use the data we've collected there. So that's, getting, as I said earlier, getting more people on boards, getting boards more involved with town, and increasing kind of just the transparency of how everything works. If all the boards are transparent and functional and working together, we can get some really good stuff done. If we lose kind of the threads that we have going, that makes things more challenging. So I really hope that we can, just like Tom said, build upon, what we've been doing and improve our procedures, improve how we do things. That way we can just be more functional overall as a town.
Lydia.
Well, this is a very interesting time in education, and I think the schools are such a perfect little microcosm of our world, and we need to be focusing on supporting the safety of our kids, not only considering this COVID pandemic, but also culturally, and making sure that kids are feeling seen and heard and socially, emotionally supported. I think that as we explore the issue of diversity and racism in our town, which is an overwhelmingly white town, we have a lot to work on and learn, and to be able to support our staff and teachers in really helping our children to see the world and what it is and what they can be is really critical, whether it's in person or virtually or in a hybrid model. And then I think it's critical to continue to support curriculum and make sure that we are getting the best we can get for our kids so that they can learn, that they're not just meeting standards, but they're able to exceed the standards and go above and beyond and really access everything they're interested in. I think, we have a lot to offer, and no matter what the model is going forward, it's going to be interesting and we'll be creative, but we have a great school system that's going to be able to figure it out together.
Well, certainly creativity, adaptability, and resiliency have been watchwords for all of us the last 4 months and will continue to be. Any last words? As we'll talk again, all of us, I'm sure, in the future. So any last words for today? Tom?
No, I just wish Lydia and Corey the best of luck. I would just because you're new, don't be shy. You have a voice. You got elected. You do have some processes and a little learning curve to get on top of, but don't be shy and express yourself when you're there. And best of luck to both of you.
And Corey?
Yeah, again, I just, that's a perfect example. One thing I've just been humbled by is the support of the town that I've received from people that have, been on the board for, people who have been select boards for, I was on the board for 9 years, or I've been in town politics for 15 or 30. Regardless, it's been I've gotten such great support and positive encouragement. And it's really, this was, could have been a scary experience, but this town has really, really embraced me, and I'm really appreciative of that. So thank you to everyone that's been involved with me.
Thanks. And you get the last word today, Lydia.
Yes. I just feel very honored and proud to be able to help support our school system. I think that we are working with our most important part of the community, our kiddos, no matter how old or young they are. I'm excited to be able to support them and advocate for them. And I feel really lucky to be able to be kind of a liaison between families and just to be able to listen to what people are concerned about. Families and also people without children. Everyone's invested in our schools. To be able to listen to what the community is saying and bring it back to the school committee and just make it the best it can be. So I'm excited. There's definitely a learning curve, Tom, you're right. But I also feel well supported. People have been reaching out. People I've never met in town have emailed me or called and just offered help and support. So I feel like we're in a really good place to start.
Thank you. Thank you all three. Thank you, Lydia St. Ange, new school committee member, Corey Evans, our new select board member, and Tom Callahan, our new planning board member. Thank you. Congratulations to all of you. I look forward to working with you in the years to come. And thank you for joining us today at Cohasset Common.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
The subject of this virtual symposium is academic integrity in a digital world. And it covers concepts, intellectual property concepts, such as copyright, what it is and why it's important, plagiarism, what it is and how to avoid it, fair use, what fair use is and what constitutes a fair use situation.
My name is Alex Williams, and I'm going to be talking about plagiarism and its consequences. What are the consequences of plagiarism? You can receive fines due to the US copyright law, and fines differ depending on the severity and the plagiarized work.
What is the public domain? By Isabella Kearney, Julia Bernica, and Hannah Nichols.
Okay, what are the requirements to copyright your work? Work has to be original, creative, and fixed. Original work is work that has never been created before, and you have to have ownership of it. There are many creativity requirements, just has to be new and inventive. And then fixed means that it is a final product and will not be adjusted or changed any more than it has been.
Fair use by Lainey, Haley, Helena, and Maya. My name is Lainey Larson. What is fair use? Fair use is a doctrine that says more than just the owner of the publication can use the information. Other people than the owners of the copyright can use the information without asking. This is important because it allows people to use public information without having to ask for permission. It makes it easier for everyone to gather and use information, even though you still have to cite your work. Fair use is resolved in federal court cases. It was created so primary sources won't be lost and they can always be used.
Many people believe that Creative Commons and copyright are basically the same thing, which really couldn't be any more incorrect. Copyright is a very strict license, and there's really no wiggle room for it. After a while, a copyright actually expires, and after that, it goes into the public domain. So in most places, when something is published, it's just immediately copyrighted.
Piracy is stealing. The official definition of piracy is the unauthorized use or reproduction of another's work. Piracy can be in the form of illegally downloading a movie, television show, news article, etc. People want to pirate content because they don't want to pay for the content.
And that wraps this segment of Cohasset Common. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for everyone who made this show possible. Have a great week.